My name is Florin Vasiliu, and I'm from Iași, Romania, the second largest city of Romania in eastern part of the country. And I work as pastor of Third Baptist Church, Holy Trinity Baptist Church in Iași. So I grew up being taught in school during the communist regime in Romania that there is no God, there is no other possibility of succeeding in life than to work hard and to do it by yourself. So I decided for myself that I will not believe in God. There is no God, and actually that my way of believing, or my way of my philosophy of life, will be atheism. And I had one time I had this opportunity to read in a magazine, Romanian magazine, about yoga and about how yoga can improve your sports performances. So I decided that I need to inquire this area to make research, and I find some books. I read those books, and also I found a group of young people like me interested in this domain. They were also interested in martial arts, and together we start our journey practicing yoga and doing some martial arts. At the beginning, I did it only with the purpose of improving my sports performances. But while I was practicing yoga, I became more and more aware about spiritual side of it, and about the fact that the life is not only matter as I was taught in the school, that there is something behind what I can see and touch. In my last year of high school, one day a colleague of mine introduced me to a friend of him who was very interested to know me and to talk with me about yoga. Was a young man, little younger than me, who introduced himself as Oliver, and he said to me that he got several interesting books, yoga books. He mentioned a few names, and I became very attentive, and I was eager to see those books. In that time in Romania, it was very hard to find books, any kind of books beyond the communist regime approved books. But anyway, I went to visit him, and I was amazed to see what treasure he got. I thought like that at that time. Anyway, he showed me the books, he showed me everything he got, and while I was very amazed and happy to see those books, he said to me, "Florin, I need to tell you something very important." And I said, "What is that?" "You know, I discovered that there is something in this life much more important than yoga or any kind of martial arts or other things like this in this world." And I said, "What is that?" I was curious. I thought maybe he discovered something secret. But he said to me, "No, you see, I discovered Jesus Christ." And I said, "Oh, no, this is not important. I believe if Jesus really existed, because I have doubts of that, maybe he was he was maybe like a good teacher, maybe like a philosopher, maybe a hero of some sort, but I'm not agree with the church who says that he is Son of God, because I don't believe in God. There is no God." And the time went by, and I finished my high school, and I went in a military service that was required for every Romanian man after he reached 18 years of age. And God continued to speak to me and challenge me through a testimony of two young men that was in the same military unit with me. And from the very beginning, I was challenged for the fact that one of the officers came in the first day while we were outside gathered. Who of us was from another religion than Orthodox Church, Romanian Orthodox Church? And I saw two young men raising their hands, and one of them was a Romanian guy from western part of the country, and another one was a Hungarian young man. And from them, that officer chose one to be his most trustworthy person with the equipment. That was a very good job in the army, and he knew that he needs a trustworthy person, and that officer knew that believers, born-again Christians, are most trustworthy persons. And I was shocked at that moment. I was somehow revolted. I was angry, and I said, why not me? Why didn't choose me? Why he chose from them? But later on I realized that actually those who believe in God are most trustworthy persons if they really obey and follow God. Later on, I had the opportunity to see the testimony of the other man, that Hungarian boy. His name was Tibi. I was impressed with his testimony because he was different than me and the others. Was something very special in the way that he treated others with a great respect, and also in the way that he obeyed the orders, not being upset or doing things with not a bad attitude, but he was a gracious person. And sometimes others will mock him, especially because they knew that he is a believer. And so several times I felt like defending him. I don't know why. It was something in my heart that appreciated that young man. And I feel frustrated many times looking at him, because in the army it's a tough environment, and even I tried through yoga to control myself and to restrain myself. I find that my standards went pretty low, and I looked to my colleague and I seen him gracious, and I seen him enduring hardships and persecution in such a different manner, and I asked myself why, and I was frustrated about that. One day it was lunchtime, and I look around and I see we've been in a very large hall, and I saw this young man seated to a table, and I decided that I will go and have my lunch with him. And while I was approaching his table, I've seen him simply bowing his head and praying. And I said, I need to ask him what he's doing. And I asked him, tell me, what you are doing? And he said, well, I'm praying. And instantly I realized there was the key, the answer of my questions, why he's different than me and others. And I understood even that I knew nothing about God and Jesus except the names, that it's something related with this faith in God. I put to him some questions, but he was a shy person, and he was not a person that was easily speaking, probably also because he was a Hungarian. And so I decided that I need to know more. For a month, we were allowed to go home, and that was something. In 1988, in August, I went home. And again, I saw something that intrigued me. Because this young man, he was sent back in the unit. He was not allowed to go like all the others in this break, because he was a believer again. And I went home, I greeted my parents, and immediately after that, I went to find the the first young man that told me about Jesus, Oliver. And I found him and I said, Oliver, look, it's something that is happening with me. I don't know exactly what is happening, but I really want to know what is all about Jesus. And God really dealt with me in that month. I wrote a short letter to my friend in the army, and I said to him, well, I'm eager to come back to tell you what is happening with me. There are some experiences that I've got, and I really want to share with you. I was aware of the fact that during the communist regime, they was checking the correspondence. I didn't mention anything about Jesus or about God, but I limited my language at that. So, and I was ready at the end of the month to go back for the last month of the service in the army. And Oliver gave me, before I left, a small New Testament. It was a small New Testament. And at that time in Romania, it was very hard to find the Bible. The communist regime tried to prevent the Bible in Romania. And he gave me that little New Testament with such a care, with such a, I mean, he told me, look, this is the only that I've got. Please, I give it to you because I really want you to read this book. Please read it carefully and take care of it. Don't lose it. Don't tear the pages. Don't, I mean, he gave it in such a way that I thought that in my hand I have a piece of gold. And indeed, it was a piece of gold. It was even better than gold. But at that time, I didn't know that. And I said, well, this is a special book. I need to take care of it and to read it. And I did. I went back. And when I went back, actually, my friend waits me at the gates of the unit, army unit. And he embraced me, and he was so happy to see me. And he said to me, Florin, you do not need to tell me what is happening with you, because I know exactly what is happening with you. And I look at him and I said, how? What do you mean that you know what is happening with me? And he said, I know because I'm praying for you. And I was very shocked. What is that? What is praying? What that means that he prayed and he knows that something is happening with me. So I let that question in my mind, and I said, probably I will understand later on. And I tried in those last months of army to find as much as time as possible to read. And because I was in the last part of the army, and I was a sergeant at that time, I had opportunity to find some jobs that give me a lot of time to read, and I started to read that New Testament. I really started, and I was curious to see what it's all about. I read through Gospel of Matthew, and I said, this is wonderful. I read through Mark, and I thought that many things repeating. I've seen in Luke the same, and I said, I don't know what kind of book is this. It's keep repeating itself. But in the Gospel of John, God really hit me, because in Gospel of John, John has record those 7 sayings of Jesus when he says, I am. And that courage of Jesus actually to say I am struck me because, and I will explain why, because actually when I was practicing yoga, I had with my friends a hard time to keep to keep trying to do what we should do in yoga. Actually, because what we did was based on our own strength and will. We discovered actually that after a while of doing well, that we were without energy, and we almost many times fell in a kind of despair or a kind of depression. And we were talking between us, and we said, maybe we lack something. And because actually we did yoga from books, not learning from someone else, we didn't have a guru or somebody that will teach us, we start to read in books and ask and try to see if there is any kind of an explanation. And one explanation was that actually you need a guru, a person that already is perfect and can teach you and take you through the steps that you need toward perfection in yoga. And we said, okay, if we don't have a guru, let's try to learn from the experience of other gurus. And we tried to find some biographies of gurus. And we were shocked, because in those biographies, we saw that none of the gurus had the courage to say, I already get to that point, to perfection. And now I was reading about Jesus, and he was saying, I am the Son of God. I am the perfect one. I am the one who died for, who will gonna die for you. I'm the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays his life for the sheep, and I was astonished about that. He dares to say that I am the light of the world. He dares to say, I am the water. I am the bread of life. And I realized that the only explanation for this is the fact that Jesus was not simply a human being. I realized that actually something that later on I understood when I studied theology, I understood that intuitively. Jesus was man, but was God in the same time. Was 100% man and 100% God. And I start to feel very weak and very bad, very sinful. You need to understand that at that time, because I was sportive, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, my lifestyle, I tried to be as good as possible. And because of that, I used to consider myself better than many of my colleagues. But when I read through the Gospels and I saw Jesus, I felt myself such a wicked person. I felt myself being bad and being sinful person. And I said, Jesus, I don't know if you really exist. Up to now, I said there is no God. But if what I read here is true, and if you are really like this, I'm in a very desperate situation. I need you. Help me. I don't know exactly how I prayed. Maybe that was more a cry of my heart than an out loud prayer. But nevertheless, Jesus heard that. He answered, because a few weeks later I was talking with myself, and I said, Florin, what is happening with you? You were not a believer, and now you believe in God. You said you many times make fun of those who are believers, and you consider them being weak, and you now are like them. You are thinking about God. You are even speak with this God. What happened with you? I noticed that God did some change in my thinking and in my way of for instance, hearing. In the army, everybody used a very bad language, and I was very used to that. But after I prayed to ask Jesus to come in my life, all that language became so bad to me, so dirty, and especially the curses that include God's name. I was very upset when I heard something like that. Also, my way of speaking was changed, and I noticed all those things, and I said, Lord, probably you are, as the Bible said. I mean, I believe that you are. I believe that you heard my prayer. And I was so happy, and I felt such a peace in my heart. That summer, I I trying hard to understand what God wants me to do. On one hand, I was still running, and I was still training, and I thought that I'll became a trainer, but on the other hand, I knew that I need to pursue my theological studies somehow. And one day I went back to the stadium for training, and my trainer was there, and he was scared. And I said, "What happened?" And he said, "You need to tell me what happened. What is happening with you?" I said, "Why?" "Because you attend a cult or something, and you are doing something dangerous." And I said, "No, I go to a church. I go to Baptist church, and this is not a cult." And I said, "Why you ask me this?" And he said that basically an officer from secret police, Romanian secret police, Securitatea, he came to visit him, and he told him everything about me. They was watching me, and they knew everything of my family, everything of my church attendance, and the fact that I start to preach. And he basically said to him, "Tell Florin, and if he wants to go to university, any kind of university, he needs to quit going to the church. We will not allow him to go in the university." And I was shocked. I was really shocked. I went to my pastor, and I told him, and he smiled at me, and he said, "Florin, I was praying for you because I knew that they were going to come to get you." And he encouraged me a lot. And what happened was, actually, in the same year, in 1988, in December, in Romania, the revolution was happening, and the communist regime was finished. And in the next year, I went to the seminary. In 1990, I went to the seminary, and I studied in the seminary of Bucharest till 1994. And after that, I went to Iași. Iași is the second largest city of Romania, and it's a city of about 500,000 people with a big student population. There are about 40,000 students in Iași. And I served in First Baptist Church in Iași for more than 16 years. I went there with the desire that I've got from the very beginning, to preach the gospel to the lost and to make disciples. God, who is sovereign, did such a marvelous work in my heart to take me from darkness, from atheism, and to bring me into light, to bring me to Him through Jesus Christ. He opens my heart to understand all this. It was nothing from myself. It was nothing that I did for that. I simply was embraced by God with His love through Jesus Christ. And the inner and secret work of the Spirit was in my heart to bring me to Him, to born me again, and to make me His son